Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
This week's show is another Q&A show. We're going to look at how we can make decisions better, work on teamwork, and be flexible. So without any more delay, let's get on with this week's show. Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I hope you are well and you are delivering results with your team and through the efforts that your team make, because that's what it's all about. This week's show is a Q&A again. I've had a lot of requests for the Q&A part of the show, so thank you for that. And please keep them coming in to managermattpodcast@gmail.com, because as you know, I answer every single email you'll send me, and if it's new or old topics, I'd love to engage on them. The three questions this week are basically around three themes. One is around decision making, other is around how we make teamwork, and the last one is around sort of flexibility in our work. So we'll start with number one, because that seems to be the best number to start with, and it's around decision making. You know, how you can dare to try to make decisions. And let's start by a bit of an intro into that. Management is around decision making. Whatever else you think around the work you do, it's around making decisions. It's about making calls. It's about sometimes going out there and taking a risk. And I know we seem to be very risk averse in our societies these days, but risks is part of the leadership role, and the manager needs to be able to make those risks using calculations, using data, using prior knowledge, and sometimes a little bit of gut feeling. But one of the questions is, when did you ever make a decision which was too quick? Or you made a decision that was wrong? Well, as we say, the main part of what we're doing here in the show is around helping you get better managers. And as I said, you are there to make decisions. So sometimes, funnily enough, you'll get a decision wrong. Now, how you react to that wrong decision can be very much a test of your character. There is an old proverb, probably Chinese or Aztec or Egyptian, that says, the best and manager who never makes mistakes is the manager who never makes decision. And that's exactly right. If you will be making 100% right the calls you never make. So, what have I done? You know, how have I ever made a decision too quickly? Yes, of course I have. And that's due to the part that sometimes in my character, in the way I work and the way I am very much around sometimes off the hip, making decisions on the fly, fast moving. I'm used to being in a quick environment. And I think the biggest decisions where I've made errors usually is when I've not gathered enough data, when I've not taken into account other factors that I should have and maybe should have seen or didn't see coming, but I made those decisions up front and quickly, and I probably missed the chance there. So, you know, I think when it comes to decision making, you've got to take your time to get the decisions right as much as you can. And that's part of it, obviously. But of course, you can't overthink, because when you're in a time-bound situation, you do need to make decisions quickly. You do need to make them on a hoof. I think one of the biggest things I did, I remember going back, it was a few years now, and I was a very keen manager in a company, and my manager asked me to do a project, which I said yes to straight away. I thought my team could handle it. I thought it was something we could do, but I said yes far too quick. I didn't take the time to step back and see what that project actually entailed. Did I have the skills myself? Did I have the team that could make those decisions and make that project work? Unfortunately, I didn't. And I worked damn hard to make it as best it could. And eventually I did deliver, and the team around me delivered. But it wasn't right. It wasn't great. It spent too much time. It sucked in too much resources. And I think looking back, if I'd have stepped back a little bit, taken some time to think about where we were in the journey of the department, taken the time to look at the core skills I had and the resources I would have needed for that project. And obviously my time as project management wasn't very in depth as it is now. So should have gone back and said, no, actually, this is not a project that the team should be doing. This is not a project we should be taking on. This is something that we should be outsourcing, or we should be buying something in. I know it's more expensive. Didn't have the knowledge, wanted to impress, and I think that's where I made the mistakes. But I learned from that mistake. I even kept a part of the project that I delivered with me in my office. So it reminds me of sometimes it's okay to say no, sometimes it's okay to say I made the wrong decision. And even in the process, I think another learning from that one is I should have had a loop to pull out of some point there. I should have said to myself, and maybe with the team around me, actually guys, have we bitten off too much here? Should I step away? Because decision making is important, and finishing what you've said you're going to commit to is important, but also having those stop, think loops that say, are we doing too much here? Is this the wrong call? Should I step back are important as well. So I think when you're in a position when you have got to make a decision, firstly, make sure you do make decisions, make sure you make decisions regularly. Secondly, if you're making a quick decision, just step back a minute, have a little bit of breather, have a pause button almost and say, shall I wait? Let's get the data together before I commit. And if you're on the road and things aren't working out, please have the confidence to step back and either ask for support or even go around and say, this isn't working, we need to stop before it gets too expensive. So I hope that answers that first question. Second question is around teamwork, and it's around the time. The question is, when was there a time when you had to deal with a difficult or angry stakeholder? How did the team cope with it? What did you do to make sure you all pulled in the same direction? Again, in leadership and management, you are going to have to face into numerous stakeholders, and stakeholders can cover a wide remit here. You can cover the people who are working with you in your team. They can cover, obviously, the people you supply outside. They can cover your internal stakeholders, your manager, the senior team on site. And I think difficult is a bit of a funny one, because what is difficult? Difficult to you might just be, from their point of view, something that they need to deliver. And if you're not delivering that, then you are in their way almost. And this is where you really need to know and align your aims and your department's aims to the bigger aim of what you're trying to do as a group. Difficult maybe mean that they don't communicate very well what they want, their expectations are. There's a good example where you'll get an email and say you've told them some bad news. So you've told a stakeholder, for instance, sorry, we're not going to be able to deliver that product or that service on time because of X, Y, and Z. And you'll just get an email back saying, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. I can't believe it's too short a notice. This is unacceptable. And that's difficult because you read that email in isolation. You're very much back to my first point. You could react really quickly and go back and go, well, that's the best you're going to get. What do you mean it's unacceptable? I've told you what I've told you. And that obviously just has a circular angry loop that's going to be going around and around. And of course, the difficulty then would move towards anger, because the next email back was, what do you mean you're not delivering? And I can't believe you've done this. So really what you've got to do is look from their perspective. Get a feel for what they're expecting. Is it realistic? Have you delivered? And if you're wrong, there's nothing wrong with saying you're wrong. Again, back to that point of having humility to say, we've made a mistake here. I'm really sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Stakeholder. This has gone wrong. We've made this error, but this is what we can do to fix it. So always try to follow up. Dealing with them is like dealing with anything else in life. Get in front of them. Speak to them face to face. Have the open discussion. Makes such a big difference, because an email can get lost in translation. Go to the desk. I've said this a few times over the last casts. Go to the desk, talk to them around what was their expectations prior to anything going wrong. Network. Make sure you know your stakeholders. Make sure you talk to your stakeholders. It can be difficult if they're all the way around the world, but take time. I mean, these days with all the Zoom and the Teams, you can put calls in, get to know the person, get to know where they're coming from, get to know what your standard delivery level and delivery time is with that person. And then keep communication going so people know if something is going to go wrong, you've given them ample knowledge. In life and in any business, things will go wrong. And sometimes you're there to solve the problem. Sometimes you're there to communicate the message. Sometimes it's reframing that message to make sure that when you're dealing with that difficult or angry stakeholder, you're framing it in a way that adds to their confidence that you can deliver, especially if it's a customer. If you're going to say, I am going to deliver at this time and this quality product, and this is the cost, and then you fail, You need to be upfront there early. You know yourself, if you've been told to sit in waiting for an Amazon delivery and it's going to be coming at, between 10 and 2 on a Monday, and you sit there and at 9 o'clock at night it still hasn't showed up and it's still in transit somewhere, you're like, well, what's gone wrong? Now, if the person delivering comes up and says to you straight away, well, I'm sorry, we have had a delay. It's nothing we can really do about it now, but I'm promising you it will be arriving at this time. And as a favour to you, a good will gesture, we're going to offer you X next time. You think to yourself, oh, brilliant, that's great service. So think that way with your stakeholders. Are you giving them the service up front that they expect? And it's a good point to go know what that is expectation. But also, if things do go wrong, are you communicating the errors? Are you telling them what the next update is? Are you letting them know when something has gone wrong that this is what they're going to expect? And that just helps it. So when I've dealt with difficult ones, firstly, I've gone and I've met stakeholders. I've made sure they knew my name. Made sure they had the contact. I made sure they have the confidence. I'd nailed down what was expected of me and my team. And then when things did go wrong, I reached out to them directly. Try to avoid email if I can. Reach out and say, really sorry, this has gone wrong. These are the reasons behind it. This is what we're doing to correct it. This is the outcome we're expecting. Sorry for your inconvenience. We are working on this. You may still get angry people. You may still get people who are difficult because they're up against it. They've got to tell their next person in the chain that this has happened. And if they've not got the relationship that you've built, can be really hard for them. So when you're working about teamwork, you instill that with the rest of your team, you make sure you're all in it together, and you make sure you take the time to understand your stakeholders so when it does go wrong, you can deal with it really well. The last question in this block is around, I'll put it around flexibility. We don't wait for things to happen. We are flexible. We make sure we can move. We're fluid. And that's a real big part of what you do in a business. The people who are rigid are very much replaced pretty quick if you can be flexible. And one of the things majorly in this question is asking around is reprioritisation and organisation of resources. When was there a time, then you've reorganised something quickly. How do you do it? What's the things you do as a manager to make sure it happens, to make sure that your service is maintained and making sure you deliver? Because, of course, delivery is what we're here for. And that's really down to how do you prioritise? So basically, know your prioritisation is the first part of this. So who are the customers you cannot ever disappoint? Now, some smart Alec normally goes, everyone's important, everyone needs to be delivered to. And that's great in principle. That's like, yep, sure, totally get that. But unfortunately, there's always going to be a hierarchy because there's always going to be a more important customer. If 99% of the stuff you are selling is for Joe Blogs, we'll call him, and 1% goes to Jane Doe, then the 99 is going to get priority over the 1. Unless the 1 is worth 25 times more than the 99. And I'd say your business model's wrong if that's the way your business is set up. But really, reprioritisation and organisation of resource. If you're in any kind of operations role, you'll know what this is like. You've got to move resource around. It might be people, it might be machines, it might be time. It might be putting something that is stopping something and moving it at last minute. It causes disruption. Definitely. It doesn't help your productivity. It probably affects your waste, but sometimes you have to reprioritise. So if you're chasing a short order and you have to move people around last minute to prioritise it and organise it, that's what you've got to do. And operations people are really good at this. They go out there and they look at the lay of the land and go, well, if I don't do this now, I'm going to miss all them orders further down. So I'll reorganise it now. I'll move people around. I'll make sure people have got themselves in positions that we can produce it. Same in a call centre. If you've got high volume of calls coming in, you might need to stop some resource from trainings, from projects. Stop them, move them in. Know what you're meant to deliver. Know where the noise is going to come. Back to the second question about your stakeholders. If you know one stakeholder is going to give you some hammer, if you disappoint them again because it's the third time you've done it, you don't disappoint that customer. You put your resource there. Even though the customers are going to be affected, the one you've disappointed 3 times, 4 times is going to know, and that might be the last time they deal with you. So you've got to protect your business. You're there to make the money. You're there to do the service. You're there to deliver to the customer. So make sure you move your people around. Comes back to that idea of flexibility. If you've only got one person who can do one job all the time, and that job hasn't got much to do, but the other jobs in the chain or in the production or in the call centre or anywhere, you need to make sure they've got some multi-skilled so they can drop in and fill and backfill. Also, in your position, make sure you've got enough cover. Don't let too many people off on holiday at certain times, especially if it's busy times. Make sure you've got some rules and regulations. That's the more sort of business end and a more transactional end of management, making sure you've got good standards around who can be there, who's trained up. And when it comes to it, jump in yourself. Sometimes you've got to get your hands dirty, get involved and make the thing happen. So even a manager, know your businesses, know your processes. All right, you don't have to be expert, but volunteer. I remember one place when we were in a bit of trouble and we needed some packing doing. And I said to the line leader, look, do you need me to come and help pack? Expecting them to say no, as you do. But yeah, of course, come down and pack. That means I can do X, Y, and Z. I can keep the place running through breaks. I'm like, sound. So I went down, I packed. I learnt so much around the job, learnt so much about the complications of what they were doing. I learnt a lot around what we could do in the future to make it easy for the people. So it's not wrong with doing that, and that gives you flexibility. It also means you're not waiting for stuff to happen. So when you've got these issues coming, if you've planned ahead as a leader, you've made sure you've got your staff up to speed, they're trained on multiple jobs, you know the priority of your customers, and you will have got rules to make sure you don't expose yourself, you're in a lot stronger position. Well, I hope that helps answer those 3 questions. As I said at the beginning, please send me any new questions or anything else as soon as you can to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. Love to engage on new and old questions and love any feedback because it's a gift. So if you can send me that free gift, don't cost you anything, please do it. And as I say all the time, if you are enjoying these podcasts and you think somebody else would, please share them. Please put a like on wherever. Send it on to somebody else. The more people that can listen, the more I can get out there and help people, the more I'd love to do that. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing. Please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.